Well, hello. Today I thought I was gonna show you the latest albums, CDs, and vinyls that I've been purchasing these last months. What you're looking at now is a box set by Nectar called Live Anthology 1974 to 1976. And it's a beautiful package. The first two discs, I'm not sure if you can see it, I think you can. First disc is live from 1974 in Bielveld Wetter Hall. This one is amazing. Sound quality, perfect. Setlist, very fucking near perfect. No, I'm kidding. It is a perfect setlist. The audio is also fantastic. The third and fourth disc of this setlist is from April 26, 1975, recorded live in Detroit at the Palace Theater. When I put this on, it sounded amazing. Astral Man sounded awesome, audio-wise. An early version of Recycled. It's most of side A, so yeah, 20 minutes of Recycled. And then A Day in the Life of a Preacher, which is also a fantastic recording. And then a song I've never heard before, not released on any studio albums. Look just once more. And then all of a sudden the quality of the audio is just what happened with this tape? So the rest of the first disc here is, well, it's not unlistenable, but sure, you have to be a huge Nectar fan to bother playing the last 4 songs on this disc. And I didn't listen through disc 4 or the second disc here, but it went back and forth all the time, from very good sounding to nearly unlistenable. So yeah, but I'm glad I have it nonetheless, because the early version of Recycle is fantastic. And then for me, the carrot of the box sets, Nectar, September the 12th, 1976. This is right before Roy Orbison left Nectar. As Nectar fans know, they continued with a terrible album called Magic is a Child, with the young the actor Brooks, whatever her name is, Naked Brooks, at the age of 11. So I do respect Roy for leaving in that regard. But yes, the beauty with this concert is they basically just invited a bunch of fans, and they took requests all night. I'll mention the titles: Cast Your Fate, The Dream Nebula, part 1 and 2, a tune they probably hadn't played since like 1971, 72. It's the best part of the entire debut album by Nectar, the album called Journey Through the Center of the Eye. It's the best song on that album. And then we get, well, it's called Epic damn it, Epiphonic Vomit Jam. And this is a fun jam. I've listened to many live recordings by Nectar, the official ones that have been released, and it's just amazing that this wasn't released until, let's see, 2019. And then we get the song Good Day. Hey. Then we get Asshole Man, great tune. And then another version of A Day in the Life of a Preacher. And then the tune everybody loves, Remember the Future. Well, it's part 2, not the entire part 2, which on the studio album is the entire side B. Then we get a little silly song called 1, 2, 3, 4. But yes, even if the audio on one of the concerts is at times atrocious, I'd say if you are a Nectar fan, CD1, CD2 and CD5 is totally worth the entire package. It also features quite a nice booklet. Anything else to say? Shall I give it a rating? Well, considering about, let's think, 40 minutes of the second concert is nearly unlistenable, I'd give it an 8 out of 10 anyway. So yeah, if you like Nectar or don't know Nectar, if you don't know Nectar, you should just type in Remember the Future or Tab in the Ocean. You can't go wrong with those two albums. But for me, Nectar live is special. Most of the times I prefer the live recordings. Then next we have the jazz rock or jazz fusion. They're not really a jazz rock band, but like Soft Machine, they were thrown into that bin more or less. And this one, I wasn't sure if I were to order it, because I really just know, and I know very well, the first two Nucleus albums. The funny thing with Nucleus is not only one member of Nucleus ended up in Soft Machine, not only two members ended up in Soft Machine. Do you think there were three Nucleus members ending up in Soft Machine? Well, it was four. Carl Jenkins, well, first John Marshall left Nucleus, joined Soft Machine, then Carl Jenkins, which sadly many hardcore Soft Machine fans claims he ruined Soft Machine. But if you think about it, people left all the time. To me, he saved Soft Machine. No matter if this tune is crappy or no matter what, to me, he saved Soft Machine. Think about it. After Hugh Chopper left, who kept the flame alive? Well, Mike Rutledge, the only original member by 1973, started to wanting to leave the band, as I read in an interview. But he stayed on until 1976, and to me, Soft Machine 1967 to 1976, it's all essential. No matter if you like psychedelic music, prog music, jazz fusion, avant-garde, blah 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 blah. But back to the Nucleus box. Well, what do you get here? Well, you get fucking everything. CD1, CD2, CD3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 discs of Nucleus live at the BBC. And I was quite surprised I didn't pay that much money for it. And I thought, while waiting for it to arrive, ooh, I should maybe not have ordered it. It was so cheap. It was too cheap, in my opinion. I paid about $50, probably around $50, and I started thinking, the sound quality must be atrocious. It must really suck. But no, wow, this is just beautiful. You get a lot of the early days, and you get a lot of stuff when Nucleus didn't release any albums. So you get tons of music never before heard, I guess, until this was released. And I didn't even know that John Marshall, who drummed on the 2 or 3 first Nucleus studio albums, who went on to join Soft Machine. I didn't know when Soft Machine were over in 1981 that he rejoined Nucleus. So you get 10 hours, if not more, with John Marshall on the drums. And yes, this Nucleus live at the BBC, it spawns, it's spawning 1970 to 1991, and I must admit I haven't heard all through it, but I've heard a couple of hours of it, and it's a no-brainer if you like Soft Machine or jazz fusion. Usually people say, yeah, I love jazz fusion. And then I ask them, well, do you know Nucleus? And they all go, who? Nucleus? So funny. The Americans, they don't know Nucleus. Of course they don't. They prefer Mahavishnu Orchestra and the more aggressive bands. Here you have the debut album of the Dutch band Super Sister, called Present from Nancy. I bought it used and I paid 30 freaking hours for it. But it's a masterpiece. People who know it's a masterpiece. To me, worth the money. We gotta have some Hawkwind in our collection. I'll admit it. This is the, for me, last truly great Hawkwind album. Don't give me no hate now. Released in 1980, and it features Tim Blake from ex-Gong member, and it also features the angry drummer named Ginger Baker. The funny story, I read all these liner notes, and Ginger Baker, he wanted to fire both Harvey Brambridge and Hugh Lloyd Langton, and he wanted his old pal back in the band on bass, the Cream bass player. What's his name? He even played on the last Soft Machine album. The name eludes me. You know his name. And this is the deluxe edition, so you get a concert with it, and not only that, you get some really interesting bonus material, Hawklord's Session 79, and some more. It's a no-brainer if you like Hawkwind. You really should take a listen to Levitation. Yeah. We move on. The Doors, live in Vancouver. If you like the bluesiest of the blues in the Doors catalog, this is for you, my friend. It's recorded live from the Pacific Coliseum, 6th of June 1970. So in fact, this is one of the very last recordings with Jimbo on vocals. So if you are a Doors fan, it is a must. And you also get Mr. Albert King guesting on, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. He guests on four songs on this album. Fantastic. Yellow. Okay, this isn't that new, but it's a great album. It was originally recorded on Ralph Records. If you don't know what Ralph Record is, it is the record company that the Cryptic Corporation started because they wanted to release the music by the Mighty Residents. Here we have the debut album by Froop, Future Legends. This is maybe their second best. And it contains a fantastic bonus song. Go check it out, On a Clear Day. This album ranges from acoustic ditties, ballads, to proto metal or hard rock. Froop's second album, yes, this is my favorite. Here they combine, well, they continue what they started here, but they do it better, in my opinion. So if I were to recommend a Froop album, I'd say Seven Secrets. And if you just want to hear a beautiful progressive ballad, you go and take a listen to the tune called Three Spires. It's just beautiful. Makes me sensitive every. Welcome back. Part 2. Where were we? Yes. The third album by Irish English prog rock band Froop. This is called The Prince of Heaven's Eyes. This is also a very good album, even if of the 4 Froop albums it's on my third place. It's maybe a little bit more, shall I say, naive, a little bit more symphonic. It is the last album with their keyboard player, this guy, Stephen Houston, which left to join, I'm not sure if it was a sect or just, he found Jesus Christ, so he couldn't play in a rock band, you know, he left. And what a shame, because such talent just wasted. I listened to some songs he recorded later years, and it was god awful. I couldn't believe that this was the same person who played keyboards and flute and well, he played maybe wind instruments, and fantastic keyboard player. But Froop, well, thankfully they didn't give up. But sadly, Froop Modern Masques would become their swan song. Sadly. The positive things about this album is it works. It is still the same band. They got a new keyboard player in, John Mason, which does a mighty fine job. And they get Ian McDonald, formerly of King Crimson, formerly of Foreigner. Well, the first 2 Foreigner albums. I'm not sure if he got fired. I'm assuming he quit because Foreigner went all shite after the first 2 albums, in my opinion. Alright, let's move on. What have I been purchasing the most recently? Well, look, Robert Wyatt, Nothing Can Stop Us. This is a compilation of 7-inch singles he did in 1980, 1981, and maybe 1982. And in 1982, Robert Wyatt had not been releasing anything since Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, which is a pun on Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. So go ahead and count. Wow, 7 years inactive. Well, not quite true, because he guested on Mantler's, two of Mantler's albums, which I am still searching for. And he also guested on Nick Mason's Fictitious Sports, which I actually think is the best solo Pink Floyd album, but maybe 1% of all Pink Floyd fans would agree with me on that. Because, you know, the best Pink Floyd solo album is... There are a lot of different answers. But outside Nick Mason's Fictitious Sport, to me, it is the two albums Syd Barrett did. And you'd guess it, there is a link with Syd Barrett and Sir Robert Wyatt. What was that, you say? Well, when the Madcap Laughs were recorded, Soft Machine, that is Robert Wyatt, Hugh Chopper, and Mike Rutledge, they were invited into the studio, and they played on 3 songs. 2 of the songs ended up on the Madcap Laughs, and the early version of the song Clowns and Jugglers were renamed and re-recorded, so sadly they deleted the Soft Machine's contributions. But if you got the third Syd Barrett album, Opel, which was released late 80s, you can actually hear the entire version of Clowns and Jugglers, which ended up as oh god, I can't remember right now, but you know. If you don't know, surely you'll find it out if it's of any interest of you. So yeah, Robert Wyatt, Nothing Can Stop Us Now. It's fantastic. I would recommend the tune At Last I Am Free, At Last I Am Free, which in fact is a song by Chick, Nile Rodgers' Chick. And this is just fantastic. It is a very calm and soothing song. If you're having a bad day, I recommend putting on the song At Last I Am Free, I can hardly see in front of me. Oh, I love it. And also the song Caimanera, the Cuba national song, more or less. And before I heard Robert Wyatt doing it, I couldn't care less. But after getting this album, I've been singing that song all day long. So yeah, I won't sing. And there are other fantastic songs on this album. You have Grass, which is a very adventurous song written by Ivor Cutler, which to Robert Wyatt fans should be familiar. If you know the album Rock Bottom, he has an excellent contribution to, I think it's the ending of side A or side B, where he's smashing his telephone and yeah, he goes crazy. Yes, more Robert Wyatt. Robert Wyatt, mid-80s. What? Have you never seen this? Well, maybe you have, I'm not sure. I bought this mainly because you get the entire Old Rotten Hat, which is one of my very favorite Robert Wyatt albums. At least in the 80s. Well, he didn't release that many albums in the 80s or in general under his own name. Though he released tons of singles, he released tons of songs on other people's albums. He's just amazing. But the main reason, there are two reasons why I bought this instead of Old Rotten Hat. Well, this features 8 bonus tracks. It features the entire EP, Work in Progress, which was on the first pressing 5 tunes, and every pressing after it, it only featured 4 songs. Well, on mid-80s, you get them all. You get all 5 songs. And you get both B-sides of his most famous song, written by Elvis Costello, which is called Shipbuilding. So you get a version of Memories of You. Jazz lovers might know this song. And also Route Midnight, which of course a jazz person knows about. Both are great, but maybe those 2 tunes are the weakest of the album. But it's a full dice for me, and you get the very well, it was once a very hard to get song called Pigs. Pigs in there, pigs, which is just fun, lighthearted, and brilliant. And the last bonus track is called Chairman Mao, which also is just you gotta hear it. You gotta hear it. And then you get the entire Old Rotten Hat, released in 1985. And I'll be really quick about this. What you need to check out is The Age of Self, and can I pronounce it? Garzadegi. An 8-minute masterpiece. And fun fact, a band named Hood did a song called The Lost You. And what did they do with that? Well, they sampled Robert Wyatt, the song I just mentioned. Yes, more Robert Wyatt, I know. And when I got this album, I wasn't supposed to order this album because it didn't look that interesting to me. Boy, was I wrong. Here you get an incredibly great BBC session he did with Francis Monkman from Curved Air and other bands. You get a fantastic BBC session, I think only Zulu Robert Wyatt, where he performs 2 songs from his then debut album, Rock Bottom. You get a song from that ended up on his second album, and you get his first single, which is the cover song I'm a Believer. And this version is quite interesting because they have used some they have used some vocal effects. I think while he was recording it live, because it goes a little out of sync sometimes, and that makes it just fantastic. And you get his most avant-garde song ever, Solar Flares Burn For You, which was used in a short movie about, well, look it up, I won't spoil it. And you get 2 songs. Welcome back. My freaking iPhone will just let me record for about 50 minutes. and I'm no expert when it comes to iPhones because I never wanted one, but a person in my family said, you gotta have an iPhone. So I got an iPhone. Yes, as I tried to say, or maybe you heard it on the last video, it also features 2 songs recorded with the huge hopper. And this is quite amazing, because I'll try to make it short. Huge Hopper and Mike Rutledge from Soft Machine, which Robert Wyatt was a member in, came. They couldn't stand Robert Wyatt, not as a drummer, but they couldn't stand his singing. Because usually when Soft Machine was performing live, Robert Wyatt, all of a sudden, or when he felt it was right, he grabbed his mic and he just sang, not words, but he was Wyatting, as we call it now. I love it, but the rest of the band hated it. And I've also read that they hated Robert Wyatt as a person. So if you think about it, I always thought Robert Wyatt left Soft Machine due to the album Fourth. 1, 2, 3, Fourth. Because on that one there is not a fucking vocal line whatsoever. Nonetheless, I love Fourth just as much as their third. If I were to recommend any Soft Machine albums, I'd say their second, their third, their fourth, their sixth, parts of their seventh, and also clearly I would recommend Bundles, even if it wasn't quite the same band. But if you listen long enough, you would not not agree with what I just say. Yes, I've been on a Robert Wyatt kick. Yes, I didn't have every album by him. I still miss the Rome Experience 1981, and I'm also missing the Animals film, even if I'm waiting for it on the box set called EPs. But the version on that one is just 19 minutes, so it's an edit of the original album, which was in fact the soundtrack to a movie called The Animal Film, which I have not seen yet, because it's a movie about animal cruelty, and just thought of that makes me feel very bad. But yes, Robert Wyatt and friends in concerts at the Theatre Royal Drury Lane, Sunday the 8th September 1974. And take a look, folks, at the guest stars. Mike Oldfield, Julie Tippett, Fred, who you may ask? Well, if you don't know Fred, I can only say check out Henry Cow and start with their most maybe acceptable album, Lead End. Not like legend, but you know, your sock, the leg end, whatever. I'd say start with that. Or if you are into avant-garde and you are into rock in a potion, just type in Henry Cow Ruins, which may be my favorite song, and it's on their second album called Unrest. Well, it's not for everyone, sure, it isn't, but we go further here. And yes, who? Gary window. He worked with David Allen from Gong. He's been on many Robert Wyatt recordings. He's been playing with a lot of jazz musicians and so forth. And who on drums? Nick Mason. Good old Nick Mason on drums. And he plays better than anything in Pink Floyd, in my opinion. More guests. We got a guy or girl, I'm not sure. Mongezi Veza, which is, in fact, is the only name I don't know too much about. We got Laurie Allen, fantastic drummer. Laurie Allen played with Gong a little period, and he also played with other Canterbury bands, and yeah. And we got who? Dave Stewart. Who's Dave Stewart? Well, you just have to find out. Another genius in the English music scene in the 70s. You know what I mean? Oh, if you don't, well, if you search Dave Stewart, you'll probably end up with the dude in Eurythmics. It's not that guy. It's not that Dave Stewart. It's the other one. The one who was in Hatfield in the North, National Health, Matching Mole, blah blah blah. And yes, Hugh Chopper on bass guitar. And I'm really glad that Hugh Chopper and Robert Wyatt became friends after Robert was fired from Soft Machine. And we get a little guest musician, who? The crazy Ivor Cutler, which we talked about. And this concert is fantastic, even if the last 5 songs have not as good a sound quality as the rest of the concert. To me, it doesn't matter at all. I love Robert Wyatt, and to get 8 live performances with incredible sound, that's what worth it. Because how much live Robert Wyatt music can you get? I'm not talking about Soft Machine. I'm not talking about the projects Robert Wyatt helped on, like Centipede, like Matching Mole, like David Gilmour live, where he contributed some vocals on Comfortably Numb, and he also played some trumpets, I guess, on that 2 DVD Royal Albert Hall. When I didn't know it that Robert Wyatt was a guest. So when I watched it for the first time, I nearly started crying. Oh my God, is that Robert Wyatt? So yeah. Well, I had to have this version of Rock Bottom. I have the one with the original art, but this one was released with a new cover, probably due to LPs not being in. And if you have the original art on the CD, it's near impossible to see what it is. It looks just white with some gray. You can't really tell what it is. So I'm assuming why they did this cover, because we were in the CD age, and Robert Wyatt's wife, who does all the artwork, and she does about 60 or 70% of the lyrics. don't think I have to mention all the great artists featured on this fantastic album. We move on. One of the last ones, Wyatt, Atmos, and Steven, For the Ghost Within. Sadly, this is Robert Wyatt's last album, and it probably will be the last new music with Robert Wyatt as a solo artist or a guest. I'm not sure. I need to listen to this more, but it is very, I won't say adult-oriented folk, but it's a breathtaking album. It is beautiful. Yeah, so this album, I would recommend it to any lover of jazz. As I said, At Last I Am Free on this album, they use only acoustic instruments. So it's a very good companion version to the original, which is more, there aren't that much synth on it, but it is maybe, it's not dated, but it has the early 80s sound. Here it sounds much more contemporary. And you get What a Wonderful World. So Wyatt, Atzman, and Steven, For the Ghost Within. It's a good album. I would not start my Robert Wyatt journey with this album, and I think Robert would agree. I hope he would. Yes, more Robert Wyatt. Robert Wyatt, Donde Están. And this album is also fantastic. Donde Están, well, it is wordplay on Donde Están. Well, it's a great album. It is a great album. What's worth mentioning on this album? Well, everything. Everything is fantastic. Every freaking song is great. The only song that maybe is a little, how shall I say it? I won't say irritating, but it's humorous and all of that. And it is a good song. And it is the title track, Donde Están. I'll read the lyrics really quick for you. Palestine's a country, or at least it used to be. Palestine's a country, or at least used to be. Fellahin, refugee. Kurdistan, similarity. Needs something to build on, rather like the rest of us. Palestine's a country, or at least it used to be. Palestine's a country, or at least it used to be. Fellahin, refugee. Tepetis, similarity. Needs something to build on, rather like the rest of us. God. So maybe not funny for you, or maybe funny for you. I don't care. I really don't care. What I care about is that you check out this album, and yeah, don't start with that song I quoted. Start with, well, I'd say play the entire album. But if I have to choose one song, I'd say maybe it's a tough one, really. Maybe Worship is one of the more easy songs to get into on this album. And what is this? Isn't this the same album? Well, yes and no. I'll explain it. I'll try to be quick about it. Well, you maybe think I'm crazy having two of the nearly identical albums. The music is all the same, but the mix, he was never happy with the mix, the original February 1991 mix, and he got not quite famous, but he had a revival in 1997 when he and Paul Weller did the Robert Wyatt album Sleep. So I'm guessing he finally had the money to go back into the studio and do a new mix of it. For me, the original mix was the first mix I got into, so that is my favorite version. The Thunderstorm Revisited, well, they changed the track order, and to me that was a mistake. But that's just because I know the original running order so much better. Well, that's enough Robert Wyatt. The very last items I have to show nobody is this. This is a 4 CD box set. It's really hard to get it on camera because I'm not a rich man. I have no other way of doing this. But this is the very first CD version of Moddergong, Gilly Smythe and Harry Williamson, and the drummer of Van der Graaf Generator, he is on it. Hugh Chopper from Soft Machine, he is on it, and many other fantastic musicians. And a hot tip for all of you gong freaks, this is now very reasonably priced. I'd say $30, at least on iMusic, and probably also at Burning Shed Records. And it's just beautiful. It is a beautifully box set, and it's also the only way you can actually get Robert Wyatt on CD. The LPs, I think, are hard to get because they were pressed really limited, because Gong and Mother Gong in the late 70s, early 80s were not hip, not at all. But yes, Mother Gong, Robert Wyatt. And what's this? Well, it's Gong, live in Lyon. It says here December the 14th, 1972. I did some research about it. They claim it is an early 1973 recording. I haven't heard all through it, but it's Gong, I know it's good. There are some errors in the track listing. Gnome Intro, Pothead Pixies, Zero the Hero and the Witch's Spell, I Am Your Pussy, Why Are We Sleeping? Why Are We Sleeping? That's a Soft Machine song, isn't it? Yeah. And then they perform, I think, a Kevin Ayers or a Soft Machine song after this, which is not listed. You get Radio Gnome Invisible, you get the brilliant I Feel So Lazy, which I don't think that one ended up on any solo albums, studio albums. And then you get the song It's the Time of Your Life, which is a David Allen solo song. I think was recorded for Banana Moon, which is fantastic. It has a beautiful version of Memories with Robert Wyatt on drums and vocals. Yeah, and you get Tropical Fish. Seems like a tropical fish to me. You get Dreaming It, which again is a song not on any studio albums. You get Flying Teapot, Improvisation. You get More Teapot. Then you get a drum solo, just basically called Lawrence the Alien. That is Laurie Allen. Yeah. Then you get the brilliant tune Blues for Finlay. And that takes up the entire side E. And the last side, you get more Flying Teapot. Here just called Teapot Jam. And this was a record store release. 1,500 copies, and each LP of the 3 LPs are like splatter vinyls or something. Just barely can you see what it is? Yes, it is Greasy Truckers live at Dinghol's Dance Hall from 1973. You get a side one, Camel, and they perform their early opus God of Light. Side 2, you get Henry Cow, and all of this was in fact not recorded live. It was recorded in a studio. All of these songs by Henry Cow is now in the beautiful Henry Cow box set. Side 3, you get Global Village Trucking, and I won't be mentioning anything more about that. And on side 4, you get Gong, Planet Gong, live in 1973. I think late June 1973. And Steve Hillage is by this point a fully fledged member. Fantastic. Last 2 ones, you can't see it, but it is the Dutch, the best Dutch band ever, Super Sister. This is just a compilation of their singles, and I'm not a huge fan of their singles because they try to be commercial. Here, another Super Sister album. It's also a record store thing, limited edition, and this combines a lot of those singles, but you get lots of album tracks. Fantastic. You get more or less the best from the debut album. You get A Girl Named You. You get the insane No Tree Will Grow on Too High a Mountain.